the first topic that I wanted to go over is basically kind of going a little bit into neuro spirituality, what it is. But specifically, I want to address what spirituality is and a goal. One of the main goals in spirituality that a lot of people don't really talk about. So the first thing is just defining spirituality. When we define it, we can talk about it in metaphysical terms, which a lot of people, talk about, but I also want to address it like what it is on a 3D physical, neurological level. So, spirituality in regards to the 3D physical world, it is nervous system regulation, also known as emotional regulation. So that's how it impacts us. It in when we adopt a spirituality lifestyle, we are changing our physiological responses to experiences and reducing that emotional suffering that we go through. So, on a metaphysical level, spirituality is the best way that I have thought about it, and the most easiest way is conscious expansion. There's a lot of different ways to explain what it is, and for every different situation, but conscious expansion is really what the end goal is in any situation. So becoming conscious to or aware of your consciousness, even just what you are conscious to. Um, so those are the two definitions that I like to give. And so now I kind of want to talk about like the goals. One major goal in the game of spirituality. It's to accept that you are more than just what you think you are. So we're going to go through a list of things. Um, First of all, you want to accept that you are more than just words. So this can include like labels such as like what you do for a living. Like I could identify myself as an animal communicator, but I'm more than that. I could identify myself as a pronoun, a woman or whatever, or even I, the word I. We are more than that. Starseed, empath, we are so much more than that. And accepting that we are more than that is a goal in spiritual growth and conscious expansion. So ideas is also something that we are more than. We think of what our beliefs are, what our morals are. That doesn't really define who we are either. Um, our beliefs, our belief systems, and also like our memories from our childhood. Even the habits that I've had since childhood, such as binge eating. When I'm talking about a binge eating disorder that I have had my entire life. Um, it's interesting when we talk about it, we have to make sure that we're not saying that I am a binge eater. We don't want to believe that that's who we are and that that's what defines us. Yes, I have a history of it, but things like that, just the memories of who we are, our childhood memories, all of those impacts our our limitations in who we think we are. Um, and so um, one of the biggest things is that we're not even our names, right? So we have a memory of being the name that we are, and it's so ingrained in us to where, like, I know when I grew up, when my name was stated by my parents, it was because I was in trouble. Anytime they used my name, because otherwise they had a nickname for me, when my name was called, I I I would always be in trouble. And when I grew up and my friends would call me that name, like they would use my name, I felt like I was in trouble again sometimes, because I had such an imprinted memory of what my name was as a child. And and we believe that that's who we are, that identifies us, and it doesn't. It's not. You are not even your name. Um, you are not what you think you know. Okay, so that we're going to explore a little bit more. But we think we know words, we think we know labels, we think we know ideas, beliefs, and who we are. We're not even that. So we're so much bigger than that. So I talked about memories. I talked about your name, our emotions. We are not our own emotions either. So that doesn't even define who we are. And then the last thing is we're not our body. We can physically see that this is who we are, um, and we experience pain on the body. Infliction of pain. We can experience sensation from the body, but that's still not who we are. And spirituality is accepting that we are more than all of these. So what exactly are we? We are an energy that we label as consciousness. So that's one label. And consciousness, the sciences are still trying to explain what it is, but in metaphysical terms, it's just an infinite energy. It's a vastness, and you can feel it. You can feel it when you meditate. That's the goal of meditation, is when you start to do it and you do it in a way that gets you to that state, you can feel an energy, a vastness, and it's very limitless. It's it's quite subtle, and it's also non-chaotic. It's very peaceful, and it's almost like a calm energy. So that's really what we are. And and our goal is to feel it, is to get in touch with that. That's our goal when we're trying to be on this spiritual journey. And so I want to talk a little bit about like what what I mean by, as far as how we're more than what we think we know. Okay, so everything we know is not really correct. It's not really true. We think we know things and we don't. Even what I am sharing with you, there is so many dimensions within this world, within this reality, that what I say is not necessarily true for others. You will most likely come across others that have different experiences, and this is why it's so important that we don't make people our guru. We don't look at people. Yes, there's some people that are experts, but what they say is not final, because the energies are constantly changing, and energies are constantly evolving. And we've seen this so many times in history, where even science has been wrong, the education that we've learned has been wrong, systems that we know have been wrong. So we don't want to make anyone our guru. You want to make you your own spiritual teacher. That's what you want to do. That is your goal. Um, so you want to become the main spiritual teacher, the guru, your own guru. So when we think about what we know, when we think about this, it usually boils down to two places of where we obtain the information that we know. Two sources of programming that it comes from. The first place is our memories. So our memories are so impactful in what we think we know, right? Because they hold our experiences, and 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 so that's all we know, is really our memories. It's limited to just that tiny experience. It really is just a tiny little hole that we're looking through. The second source that the programming comes from is from media. So we're talking about all forms of media: books, magazines, music, news, the shows, podcasts, movies, social media. Even this conversation right here is a form of media. Articles, research articles, the internet, textbooks. Um, Everything we know comes from these two main places. And so even even what you learned from people in the community, your parents, your teachers, people, who we respect in the community, our governors, our leaders, everything they know came from media or their own personal experiences. Those are where the programmings come from. So media has a huge impact on what we think we know. And it's not all true. It's not all finite. It's not all definite. And we've seen this happen so many times in history where even in like in the medical field and the medical establishment, they used to tell pregnant women that cigarettes were healthy. That was in literature, that was in media, and people believed it. We believed it. Our parents believed it, and that wasn't true. And the same thing with promoting lobotomy. They really thought that this was a method that helped. Um, Patients who were suffering mentally, they really thought it helped, and that was from research. That was in research. The other places where we've seen this is the laws of physics. The laws of physics and even mathematics are now being questioned, because when we take into account the quantum field or the 0 point field, those are all being thrown out the window when you take a different dimension into account that we weren't conscious to before. So another place we've seen it is of course, like in society, what society was told about aliens not existing or animals not having emotions or thoughts. That information, if you think about where you heard that, a lot of that came from TV shows. A lot of that came from movies where people made comments. Animals can't feel anything. You can go back and catch older movies where they said that had a huge impact on what we think, including, aliens, people getting judged in movies for believing in aliens. If it wasn't a sci-fi, that makes a huge impact on forming what we think we know. So it's pretty impactful how this what we think is, something small, something that really isn't, we think that we just turn on the news and that's media. It's so much greater than that. Posters are media too. So everything we know about the world around us outside of our own experiences is formed through media. So even storytelling, that happened a lot in cultures, not so much in our culture, but in other cultures, in small villages, storytelling was really big for families and for communities. They would pass down stories to each other. Those stories were usually from personal experiences of the ancestors or stories from the community, and then of course information gets lost in translation. So we really don't, even when we're told those stories, those historical ancestral stories, we really don't know everything that actually happened. And then now in our society, we have churches that give stories to the community, teachers that give stories to the community, leaders, and all of that. They're all learning it from the Bible. If they're a church, that's media. They're learning it from textbooks, such as the teachers, etc. They're learning it from college. So really, um, we really don't know what we think we know. We think we know a lot, and we really don't individually. And so um, now, because we have the internet, it's a pretty fascinating thing what we're seeing. I believe this is why the spiritual ascension is accelerating so much right now. It's because of the internet. We have more access to a lot of populations that we didn't before. We can see things are happening in one state that we couldn't before. And even though the media may not, social media may not always be true and accurate, we are faced, like so many of us are now faced more often with that red pill versus blue pill, right? We're faced with it now, more frequently. And so that's that fork in the road that we all came to when it came to becoming awakened, or, our spirit, opening up to our spiritual journey for a lot of us. So that's why I believe the acceleration is also happening. It's aligned with astrology, if you believe in astrology, and the internet has a lot to do with it. So the next thing, let's see, I'm at 7:50. Okay. I got 10 minutes, and then I wanted to try an exercise, just so y'all can feel a little bit more of what the consciousness is. But I'm going to go over a little bit more of this topic. So as far as the goal in spirituality, one of the main goals in spirituality is to accept that we really don't know anything. That's a big part of spirituality. It's, and again, it's not even what I say is a matter of fact, right? Because it could be different for someone else. But the main goal is to trust the unknown. And so, um, if you're under the belief that you have an education, that you have experience, and that you have practice, um, and all of that can mean that a little bit, some information from that area. But if you identify with it, if you over identify with it, and you know you think that because you have information or a background in some information, you may become more likely to miss the opportunity for learning more, or miss an opportunity to spiritually grow or expand your consciousness to other areas. So the sooner, so even, so for example, I see this a lot when I'm communicating with other psychologists. I have a background in neuropsychology, and a lot of psychologists, they have no interest in the information that I teach, because they think they already know it all, because they think that we are all taught the same thing. And if you obtain a degree in psychology, and that's fine, but if you're not open to learn more, even in your own field, no matter what it is, especially from personal experiences, you are likely to miss an opportunity to grow spiritually. So the best thing you can do is accept that you really don't know what is happening, or what's going to happen, or what has happened. This has to do with a lot of steps of trusting the universe, that the universe will support you even though you don't know how things are going to unfold for you. um, this also incorporates the having faith that you will be okay, even if the scariest even during the scariest times. um, that's having trust in the unknown as well. So that's a part of spirituality, is learning how to have faith during those times where you're facing the unknown. um so the only thing that you can really get to know in the spiritual journey comes from having a solid connection with your emotional energies. That's the only thing that you really know, and that you get to know in your spiritual journey, is trusting that what you're feeling is real, and that you have the ability to determine that. And so until you have a solid connection with your emotional energies, the connection that you currently have could be wrong, or not fully connected or correct. So there's lots of us that are running around thinking that we really know what emotions we're facing. A lot of us don't understand our own emotions. We don't understand it. But that's really our goal, is to get to know our own emotional energies, which is directly connected to that sensation of our consciousness. It's very much connected. That subtle energy that I'm hoping that I'm going to take y'all through an exercise right now that I'm hoping y'all can feel and see what I'm talking about. So yeah, that's basically it. The sooner that we can accept that you are never fully spiritually awakened, you want to continue life thinking that there's always more to learn. There's always more of my consciousness that can be expanded. So either even in your own journey or in other people's journey, when you're hearing their stories, or even what is happening or what is going to happen, the sooner we can accept that we don't know, the more we will accelerate in your spiritual journey, the quicker we will. Okay, so the thing is that what keeps us from going down this route, though, is the ego or the subconscious. The ego lives in the subconscious, and man, when the ego is faced with the idea that it doesn't know, it becomes very threatened, because this is a part of the nervous system. It helps regulate the nervous system, but really our consciousness is what's supposed to regulate the nervous system. When the ego is regulating the nervous system and is driving the nervous system, it's because we're subconscious driven. We're being subconscious driven rather than consciously driven. So when we tell the ego, when we even talk to ourselves and tell it, I'm not my name, you aren't your name, you're not this body, it will argue with you, most likely. It will want to argue with you right away. And the reason why is because if it doesn't know, then it doesn't feel safe. And it can't communicate directly. It can't communicate to the nervous system on what to do. So there is always this communication between our consciousness, which has different levels of subconsciousness. There's a communication system between that and the nervous system, always, and the body. It's like this trinity of communication. And so when the ego says it believes it knows, it wants to believe it knows everything. It thinks it knows everything. It wants to stay confident in that. If it does, it feels in control. And therefore it sends a message to the nervous system, we are safe if I know everything. And it's up to the consciousness to be like, well, slow down. It's okay. It's okay if we don't know everything. It's actually okay. And we're going to be safe even in the unknown, if we're facing the unknown. And if I don't know everything, it's okay if even though I have this degree, it's okay if I don't know everything in that field. And yeah, that's a huge threat. That's where arrogance comes from, right? So we're going to try an exercise real quick. And so what I want you to do is I'm going to have you tell yourself a couple of statements. And I just want you to listen to what the ego says. And I want you to consciously reassure it, the statement that I'm going to be telling you to give it. And just stay firm with it. And basically, I want you to get to a point where you tell yourself, I don't know who I am. And when you get to that point, where you can say, I don't know who I am, that right there is consciousness. It's where you don't know anything. And you will feel it. You will feel this energy. You will feel a calmness, a quietness. The ego won't be arguing anymore. So just give it, I'm going to try to give you a little bit of silence time so you can see if the ego talks back. And if it doesn't, then that's who you are. That energy that you touch into is who you are. And this is basically one of the elevated states that we try to always go to when we're meditating. But here's a quick way to get there. It's just hard to maintain it. but I'm going to try to get you to get there very quickly. Okay, so if you just want to get comfortable and close your eyes. So just close your eyes and just see if you can bring your attention, your consciousness, shift it to the bottom of your seat where your bottom is touching whatever it is that you're sitting on. And just stay there for a moment. And now tell yourself, I am not my name. I am not my name. And keep reassuring yourself that you are not your name, even if the ego argues back. And if it says, who am I? Then start saying, I don't know. I don't know who I am. I am not my name. I want you to tell yourself, I am not my body. I am not my body. And just keep repeating to yourself if the ego argues back with you. And now let it know that you are not your thoughts. I'm not even my thoughts. In that moment that you can come to a point where you can feel and accept that you really don't know who you are or what you know, that is consciousness. That is you. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.